I'm going to be looking at the challenges of evaluating technology within the sort of C-suite, the C-level. I'm looking specifically at development technologies because I'm assuming most people in the room are doing some kind of software development or some kind of integration of tech. Yeah, so hopefully this is relevant to everyone in the room. So new technology is great, yeah, until it isn't. We get excited, and to be fair, this has been me many times. Yeah, get excited about tech, I trip myself up on tech. Yeah. But sometimes, obviously, it goes well. We add a lot of value to the product. We add a lot of value to the organization, to the customers. This is good. But as a consultant, I get to see a lot of times where this kind of happens, yeah? Docker looks super cool. AWS, super cool. Let's chuck it in the stack without really thinking through and evaluating the actual kind of the impact that tech's going to have, yeah? The pitch tonight really, it's only 15 minutes talk, but we all know that evaluating technology as CTO is challenging. David said this, as I started as a sysadmin, as a techie, leveling up, more and more constraints get placed on you, more and more weight on your shoulders, I'm sure as you know, and you're owning the whole tech vision. You've clearly got to delegate some of the evaluation, yeah? You want your team coming to you and saying, I've seen this hot new product, it's going to add benefit to the tech stack, it's going to add benefit to our customers, and then you want to say, tell me why. I've developed over the years, I think the three core things that I've personally developed as a CTO and also as a consultant and things I see in my work is these things tonight we're going to talk about. As a CTO, as a tech leader, you have to communicate the vision to your team. Have to communicate the vision, yeah? You have to have some kind of evaluation skills personally, and you need to feed them into your team as well. And you need to develop and maintain knowledge and awareness, and this is super hard. Again, totally riffing off what David said, but this stuff, when you're a CTO, fighting fires, you've always got something going on. Dedicating time for yourselves to learn, super valuable, super hard, yeah. Very briefly, this is me. I'm Chief Scientist at OpenCredo, also CTO at Specto Labs. We're working on some products around microservice testing and dependency management, so if you're interested in that, come and chat to me afterwards. I've done the whole thing, yeah. I've done web dev, started as an academic, full stack Java development, CTO consultant, now very much specializing in microservices and things. So hit me up on Twitter if you're interested. DMs are open. I'm all for chatting to people on the web and stuff. Happy to do that. So first, communicating the tech vision is genuinely really important. As leaders in the organization, as technology leaders, this is what we do, what we should do, yeah. Big fan of Wardley mapping. People familiar with Wardley mapping, or sort of? If you haven't, Simon Wardley, he's got some great blogs online. It's a little bit like value chain or value stream mapping, but on steroids. And you've got kind of there's a whole bunch of things, when to use Lean, when to use Agile, when to use Six Sigma. There's what value you're adding to customers. But if you haven't heard of it, it's a great way to understand and develop for yourself the tech vision. Now, clearly the tech vision goes hand in hand with the product vision, with your service vision, those kind of things. But I found this kind of thing really useful. Adrian Collier, actually, he works for Excel now, a venture capital firm. He did a really nice Wardley map of microservices and containers. Super hot tech. Presentations online, I've got the links in there for you. Have a look at that. This thing, as a CTO, as a tech leader, is really nice to help me develop my tech vision, to help me understand what I'm owning, yeah? Once you've got the tech vision, you clearly know it marries very closely to the strategic goals of the organization, obviously, yeah. I borrowed this from Harvard Business Review. I'm a big fan of Harvard Business Review, HBR. You map it back, yeah. This is the kind of the goals of the company. We're supporting entry into global markets. This is actually based, it's not a true customer thing, but it's based on a customer I worked with recently. You map the tech back. I found 2 levels useful. Architectural principles, design and delivery practices. This gives us a shared understanding of what we're trying to achieve, yeah? We're going into new markets, we're supporting innovation, and therefore at an architectural level, whether you've got architects or whether you're developers or sort of operating as architects, you've got some guidelines for them. Eliminate accidental design code complexity. Aggressively retire and replace unnecessary complex code. And we went for an exercise with this particular company over a week or two to develop some bootstrap sort of practices. We decided we were going to use a bit of Java, JavaScript, Golang. We were going to do a service-based approach, microservices, kind of obviously quite a buzzword, but it's got some real benefits to it. These were kind of these were our sort of compass, our values, whether you're in the trenches, whether you're doing architecture, and whether you're doing business strategy. It helps you map it and helps you have a conversation at all levels. Really valuable. You can do other things like Zalando, really cool company coming out of Germany. They've got this radical agility. They've got some nice slide decks online that talk about how they share their tech vision. And people like, this is, I believe, Yelp. They've got service principles. So they say when anyone wants to build a new service in their business, they have to read this document, and it gives them a set of checklists. Should you really be building that? And if they decide to build a service, it gives a series of guidelines as well. Great way to, this is public, this is a way to publicly share your tech strategy. Same with Halfa, API style guidelines, very similar. They're basically sharing at the design and delivery level the kind of tech vision that I'm encouraging. And once you've got the kind of tech vision, then it's easy to drive evaluation of things. You know what our goals are. If you're coming to me as a tech leader, hopefully you're going to give me things and say, we should evaluate this in the context of the big picture. It kind of stops the kind of people just wanting to bring stuff because it's cool, or at least it hopefully stops some of that. Evaluation, first steps. As a tech leader, whenever people come to me and ask about things, I always get them to frame the problem first and the general solution. I want to use Docker. And what they really say is, we're having problems with our CI and CD. We're not immutably delivering artifacts reliably. That's your problem. The general solution, therefore, is packaging up code. We could use Docker, we could use Rocket, AWS AMIs, we could do deb packages. There's a whole bunch of things out there. I want the person who's presenting this kind of evaluation to me to give at least 2 alternatives. Docker, Rocket, AMIs, that kind of thing. I want them to state their recommendation. They've always got a recommendation, yeah? Bit of Docker, whatever. And I want them to give benefits and at least 1 drawback. It's very easy to go, yeah, Docker's going to revolutionize the world. And I'm not ragging on Docker because it's an amazing product. And perhaps there is a bunch of benefits with Docker. The drawbacks might be you've got to run a daemon as root on a host, yeah, something like that. Security might be an issue for you, that kind of thing. But I want people to basically empathize. If you're a dev, I'm going to ask you lots of ops questions. If you're an ops person, I'm going to ask you lots of dev questions. I want to understand how this is going to affect my tech stack. Yeah? Empathy is a really undervalued thing. Put yourself in the perspective of someone else, be it your customers, your fellow leaders, your colleagues in the trenches. Empathy, understanding all these things is really valuable. Effective conversations make for effective collaboration, yeah? And this is something I stumbled across last year called the SPINE model. Great, not my work, great video online, Agile 2015 it was talked about. And the model is kind of, as a species, we're really good at tools. It's what separates us from our nearest ancestors on an evolutionary scale. We use tools, yeah? The problem is, people often get stuck in a dilemma where equally plausible options are available. So Docker, Rocket, these kind of things, yeah? And we start having, a bit of dogmatic discussions. Well, Docker's better because of this. Rocket's better because of this, that kind of thing. Moving up the spine breaks deadlock. Make sure we're having the right conversations, yeah? So apologies, this is a bit small. I'll share the slides on my slideshare. You can have a look. But fundamentally, we're looking at, say, Docker and Rocket, 2 competing container technologies. What do we actually value? We value our really strong tool chain. We're optimizing for developer productivity. Docker might be a better fit there. Or if you're, say, optimizing for security, I want to be able to run stuff with non-root access. Maybe CoreOS Rocket is the best fit there. But we need to move up as appropriate to make sure we're having the right discussions. Down here, it gets very dogmatic at times. I like Java. I like Go. Good, but what's relevant to our business is the key thing here, yeah? Fitness functions, also very useful. There's a good book coming out by Neil Ford and Rebecca Parsons called Evolutionary Architecture. And it talks about if you're bringing in new tech to the stack, draw yourself a web, an evaluation web here. On each access, there's something we value. Say we're looking for a new NoSQL solution, yeah? Auditability, configuration, data security, high availability, high throughput. And what you want to do is, however many access you've got, give yourself like half the points and draw your idealized fitness function. So here we're optimizing for data security, high throughput. We're not so worried about low latency, usability, that kind of thing. That captures in time. It's great for evaluation. That can be a template, but more importantly, particularly as a consultant, it gives documentation. At this point in time, we value these things over others. I can therefore go to the market, I can draw fitness functions on the products out there and map them back to my idealized fitness functions. You're very lucky to get an idealized fit, but you often, for example, if you're looking for a high write speed, Cassandra, freaking awesome. Looking for, flexible querying, traditional SQL, freaking awesome. But without these things, you're often not forced to think, and again, you're not forced to document why you made those choices. Bit more hardcore version, Matt Rabel, fantastic guy, fellow InfoQ editor, friend of mine. He's done this comparison framework. It's a blog post about 5 years old now. He was evaluating, you can tell by some of the tech, he was evaluating web frameworks. And what he'd done is he kind of web frameworks at the top, criteria down the side here, and he scored on a scale of 0 to 1 what each web framework gave on each of the criteria. Yeah? And you can weight these things. Cool thing is you can give the task to each member of your team, say, time box it, and then you can come back together and have a discussion. A little bit like the Scrum cards, don't show your hand until you're all together and then you can discuss. I think Struts 2 is really good for developer perception, that kind of thing. It's all about having things to build a discussion around, correct conversations, and giving some record of why at this point in time we chose this tech stack. We believed this, developer productivity was the most important thing. And as David said, over time, but I've worked on quite a few startups, over time, you might optimize for developer productivity up front, then you might switch to operational maintainability later, these kind of things. But there's no point when you roll in and start cussing out the current tech stack, if you can look back and see, at the given time that decision was made, this is what we valued, yeah? So these kind of things, really powerful. It's easy to be tricked with evaluation, yeah? The audience participation, if you don't mind, yeah? 3 options, top line bigger, bottom line bigger, same size. Who thinks the top line's bigger? Is that no one? One person. Who thinks the bottom line's bigger? Who thinks they're both the same size? Yeah, so what I've actually done is tricked you, yeah? The top line is bigger. This is what vendors do all the time, yeah? Like I mean, I've been on that side of it. As a vendor, if I can get you to tell me about the product I've already got, I win, yeah? It's a sleight of hand trick, yeah? Very powerful when done correct. So be aware, fantastic book. I've actually got it, Thinking Fast and Slow. I read it quite a bit. In Open Credo, we're reading it quite a bit as well. It talks about the bias and heuristics we have as humans. Honestly, it's a fantastic book. So many fallacies. Confirmation bias, availability bias. That feature is going to be done in 2 weeks, yeah? Is the classic kind of, anchoring people on figures and things. Be aware of these things. As a leader, we're never going to get rid of our bias, but we've got to be aware of it. That's a key thing. Developing knowledge, pretty obvious stuff, I think, but you as a tech leader, it's nice to maintain an awareness. And one gig I was involved in back a while ago, I got to a point where I was doing so much pre-sales that I actually lost touch a bit with the tech. And the tech team were coming to me going, I think this is what we should do, and I felt a bit uncomfortable that I didn't really have the knowledge to give them an answer. Now, obviously, I said that. I took some time out to make sure I learned and leveled up, but it's a real challenge. Again, David's hinted at this already. Massive challenge as a CTO, as a tech leader, to constantly keep yourself up to date. I now try, my little routine is each day I spend 5-10 minutes on Twitter. I've built up a little list, scan through current trends, who's doing what. I try and read blog lists on Feedly twice a week, and I read the HBR like once a month magazine, really nice. I'm always doing one thing here as well. I'm always doing a Coursera course, just to keep my mind kind of fresh, reading a book, something, I've just been finishing the Site Reliability Engineering book, fantastic book by the Google people. It helps me kind of, think, get the brain working, and you find often so much serendipity, stuff you're doing, projects you're working on, you'll read something and you'll go, oh yeah, I can totally see how that can benefit. But the more important thing here is, as a tech leader, you need to move to this side. You need to be developing a deeper understanding the bigger picture, yeah? And I've actually done this. I was very lucky a couple of years ago to be invited to write for a website called InfoQ, infoq.com. Great website, news website, information share. It's all about, definitely yourselves, very much the target audience. And what I have to do is I get a bunch of perks, like go to conferences free and stuff, but the deal is I write one news article a week. And that takes me about an hour, maybe 2, once a week. I try to sneak in early Sunday morning, get up really early or whatever. But by writing about something, by teaching, by presenting even, I find I have to really understand the topic. And so now I started writing about things. It helps me. I often write about things I want to learn about. Then people will reach out to me via the website and say, hey, have you heard of this thing? And I build up this network not only of people, but I build a network of understanding up. Oh, Kubernetes, Mesos, Cloud Foundry, you're going to get the connections between them. Very, very powerful. As a tech leader, we need to kind of think at the bigger picture, I think. Developing others and learning is all about what you should be doing. Yeah, again, David, I keep saying, David, you have a great presentation, David, so that's why I'm constantly talking about your stuff. But developing others is a key part of being a tech leader, key part of being a CTO. Pay it forward. That's why I was very lucky early in my career to meet some amazing people who mentored me, and I like to try and do the same thing now. But, running brown bag lunches is a great way to build people's presentation skills up, but also I learn from what they're doing. It's like double bonus, yeah? Afternoon lightning talks if you can't quite swing a brown bag lunch. Book clubs I've done in the past, and in Open Credo we do internal conferences. Once, twice a year we all get together, spend a day. Now I know it's not super cheap, but I believe it pays for itself in terms of the knowledge share. We invite some external customers in to learn what we're up to, all this good stuff. But yes, learn, but reinforce it at the tech leader level. You need to get a deeper understanding, a wider understanding, and you need to be developing others as well. That's part of your role, I think. Bedtime reading, these books are really influential sort of in my journey over the last year or two. If you're looking to be a tech leader or are a tech leader, things like Lean Enterprise gives you an idea of some of the lean techniques with some of the classic sort of more enterprisey ways of designing and delivering software. Art of Business Value can't get over. It's a fantastic book. Short little book, but it talks about things like business value, customer value, organizational value. I didn't think they were any different when I first read the book. Now I do. Fantastic book. Designing Delivery is rethinking kind of delivery of IT solutions in a post-industrial society. Without sounding too grand, but it's a really good book. And I met Jeff, very lucky to meet Jeff at Jack's London last year, and he really got me thinking about the way we deliver value to our customers. Yes, we're delivering software. Fundamentally, we're delivering value. Yeah, and Jeff's got some nice thinking points. Talked about thinking fast and slow already. Bit of a chunky read, slightly academic, but freaking amazing if you can. DevOps and architecture, I think, are important just at the tech leadership level if you're doing software development. Those are my 2 recommendations to get started. Typically, as a CTO, as a consulting CTO, very much I'm doing change management. Even yourselves, you are always driving change. Jean-Marie hinted that. As a consultancy, we're typically brought in to kickstart some form of change, to light the fire, I like to say, plant the seeds. So these books, John Cotter's book's fantastic for leading change. HBR is a collection of essays around things like a fair process, engaging with people, explaining things, setting expectations. Really valuable stuff that I think we as tech leaders don't look to the business world enough. Business people have conquered a lot of these problems, and as technologists we like to sometimes reinvent the wheel, I think, yeah. So I'm constantly looking to more business-inspired literature to learn stuff. I do a lot of talks, so if you want me to come in and do a brown bag lunch, more than happy to do that, pending schedule. Talking at the moment mainly about microservices, DevOps, containers, and empathy is a kind of personal project of mine at the moment. So hit me up. They're online, a lot of videos online as well, so you can see my work there, but happy to come in and work with your team over lunch or something. More happy. Thank you very much.